All right, this is part 2 of the Unit 3 test review, or the Chapter 5 test review. We just got finished counting slope, rise over run from some graphs. Let's do it now with an equation. If you have an equation, the way that you can find the slope, there's a multitude of ways, but the way that we're doing it in class now is to put our equations, in y equals mx plus b form. If you solve an equation for y, you're going to be able to tell what the slope is because the number that's in front of the x is your slope. Anywhere you can locate the x in the equation, as long as your equation is solved for y, that will tell you what the slope is. So sometimes you don't even have to do anything. The equation may be solved already for you. However, this first one is not, so we do need to solve it for y. We're going to do that by subtracting 2x from both sides. You get negative 3y equals, now at this point, because you can't subtract 6 minus 2x, you can either write 6 minus 2x or you can put negative 2x plus 6. That puts it a little bit more in slope-intercept form because the x part is first. However, most of my students are writing it this way, so I'm going to keep it like that because you get the answer one way or the other. It doesn't matter. Now we need to get rid of the negative 3, so we're going to divide everything by negative 3. You get y equals, now 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2, and then negative 2 divided by negative 3, first of all, negative divided by negative makes a positive. 2 over 3 will simplify into a repeating decimal, so we're just going to leave it, 2 over 3. It's great to have our slopes as a fraction anyway. 2 over 3x, so that's our equation. Y equals negative 2 plus 2 over 3x. Now, let's actually answer the question. The question said find the slope of the line, so the equation that we just came up with is not the answer, it's just what we're going to use to get the answer. The answer for this problem is 2 over 3, because that would be the number right there in front of the x, and that would be the m value, which is your slope. Now, number 14 is almost like a trick problem because it's already solved for y. There's no manipulating or solving you need to do. You just need to locate the slope. The slope is always the number in front of the x, so for this problem, our slope would be negative 3. Likewise, on number 15, pretty simple on the solving. You just need to move the 2. So we're going to subtract the 2, so it'll be over there with the 7. I get y equals 7x minus 2. What number is in front of the x? Well, the 7 is. So that is your slope for that problem is 7. To find the slope of an equation, you put it in y equals form, and then you state the number that's in front of the x. Now, slope formula for the next part. I've talked to my students. I'm not a huge fan of slope formula, although it's a great formula. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just when I see students plugging these numbers in for the slope formula, there's lots of mistakes occurring. So I'm going to work this first problem out 2 different ways. I'm going to work it with the slope formula, and then I'm also going to do it with a mini table. A lot of my students are choosing to use a mini table to find the answer. It's the same exact process, it just visually looks a little bit different. So I've got my slope formula right here, and that will be written on your test tomorrow. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's a great idea to label your points. So I've got my negative 1 is x1, my 2 is y1, this one's x2, and that one is y2. If you label your points ahead of time, that'll make it a lot easier to plug into the equation. So I've got y2 minus y1 on top. I'll end up with negative 3, subtract 2, and then on bottom I'll get 2, subtract negative 1. So if I do the math on that, negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. I would probably change it to plus a negative just because that's how I always work out my integers. But it's negative 5. And then on the bottom, 2 minus negative 1 is the same thing as 2 plus positive 1, which will be 3. That's the slope for this problem. Down 5 and over 3, or negative 5 over 3. Now, to do it with a mini table, the same exact process, but you just put your x and y, y values in table form. Your x's go here, your y's go there. So I would have negative 1 and 2. I would have 2 and negative 3. And now I'm finding the rate of change. From 2 down to negative 3, how much is it changing? How much is it going down? Well, it's going down negative 5. From negative 1 up to positive 2, how much is it changing there? Well, it's going up 3. Remember, your rate of change is the change in y over the change in x, which would give me negative 5 over 3. Same answer we got right there. Either way is fine. You may do the table, mini table method, or you can use the slope formula. It's just whatever you're most comfortable with. Since I've got the slope formula here, I'll go ahead and continue to do the rest of the problems with the slope formula, but remember that mini table is awesome, and that's the method I normally use. I've got x1, I've got y1, I've got x2, and I've got, let me erase this box here, and I've got y2. Those are my values to plug in. So I would have 7 subtract 2 over 2 subtract 2. 7 minus 2 is 5. 2 minus 2 is 0. When you get a 0 on the bottom of your fraction, this is an undefined or no slope. This is the answer. This is fine, but we usually write that on the no slope and 0 slope problems. Okay? This is x1, y1, x2, y2. So to plug into my formula, I'm going to have 1 minus negative 9 over 0 minus 2. If I fix this, I'll have 10 on top, and I subtract on bottom, I get negative 2. Therefore, my slope is negative 5. For number 19, again, plug everything in. I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. If I have 6 minus 6 on top, and I have negative 2 minus 4 on bottom, that gives me 0 over negative 6, which is 0 slope. If you have 0 on the top, that is 0 slope. If you have 0 on the bottom, that would be no slope. Last one, I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. Plugging in your numbers, you would have negative 3 subtract negative 1 over 1 subtract 5. If I change this, I'll have negative 2 on top. If I change that, and you don't have to do that, that's just how I do it, you'll have negative 4 on bottom. Negative 2 over negative 4 is a fraction and reduces to positive 1/2, which is your slope. All right, last ones. There's going to be bonus problems on your test tomorrow, and they may or may not be exactly like these problems. Bonuses are just things that we've done in the past that we hope you remember, that you can get some bonus points added to. And we don't even know for sure how many points are going to be, but this is just an example of some good problems that you could potentially see on your bonus section tomorrow. So negative 2 to the third power, written like this, means negative 2 times 2 times 2. You don't write the negative on all the 2's because it's not included inside the parenthesis with the 2, so it's just outside in front. If you multiply that out, you get negative 8. On this one, it says let's put in the 2 for the q. So I'm going to have 10 minus 8 divided by 2 minus 3. Now the brackets are just fancy parentheses, so there's not really anything special you need to do to those other than you need to start there first. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8. Now let's add 10 and we get 2. Let's see, number 23. Pretty challenging equation. This one is not no solution. A lot of people got no solution today, so let me show you how this works. First thing I would do is put my like terms together. Negative 5b plus 2b is negative 3b. You do need to consider that subtraction sign in front of the 5 as a negative. So I would have 3 minus 3b equals, I'm going to go ahead and bring this little negative 2 guy down right there because I haven't done anything with him yet, but then I'm going to distribute this other one. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 times negative b is positive 2b. I could put these like terms together, which would be negative 4. So I'll have 3 minus 3b equals negative 4 plus 2b. Okay, I'm going to get my b's together. I'm going to take this 2b and subtract it over here with the 3. I've got 3, and then negative 3b and negative 2b would make negative 5b. That equals negative 4. I'm going to subtract my 3 over with the 4. I get negative 5b equals negative 7. If I divide both sides by negative 5, b equals 7 over 5. That's a pretty challenging one, but that's a really, really good equation. On this one, I've got 2 distributes. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. On this side, 6 times x is 6x. Over here, 6 times 2 is 12. Let's get our x's together. Now I'm moving my 6 over here with the 4 because I like my letters on the left side. You don't have to do it that way. You can move your 4 over to the 6. That's perfectly fine. Now I'm going to move my 6 over with the 12. Again, you didn't have to do it in that order. You could have moved the 6 first to the 12 if you wanted to. When you get to this type of equation, you have some options as far as the order in which you're solving. My last step has to be dividing by -2, and therefore x equals -9. Guys, I hope you study for the test. Please remember that I do have tutoring in the morning. I have a short meeting I have to go to. It lasts about 5 minutes. Miss Mars is probably going to be in the room, or she'll be in her room helping. But definitely study for your test tonight. Practice problems. Look at old videos. Look over assignments. Do corrections. Whatever you need to do. I want everybody acing the test tomorrow. Good luck.